Alright guys, since we had so much fun making our last Halo video, and since we had such a good response to that video, and since so much more news has come out since the reveal of the Halo Campaign Evolved trailer, we're going to finally be talking about some of the things that we did like about the trailers, all the gameplay footage we saw. We're also going to be talking about things that we hope could improve, or things that we hope could show up in the game itself when it actually launches. There have been a lot of different news articles and a lot of different news outlets covering the game. They've showed off a lot of what can and will be in the game at launch. We also are going to talk about the things that we don't necessarily like. There has been some community backlash as a whole from the reveal trailer, the news articles that did come out as well. A lot of people have really strong opinions, and I think we'll be covering those later in this video too. This is not going to be all doom and gloom video. A lot of people who are posting content about this game right now that it's coming out, they're mostly talking about how it's not exactly the Halo they wanted. From what I saw and from what we were shown, I'm like 80% there, 10% I want more, and then the last 10% is probably the stuff that I'm like, not too sure about this. So we're gonna go over that here in this video. So the easy layups we're gonna get out of the way right off the bat are the things that we like. So the things that we like right off the rip, the cinematics look great. I think the cinematics from the Blur Studios Halo 2 remaster were pretty good for what they were at the time. There's a little bit of goofy character proportions in that, but overall those Blur Studio cutscenes were pretty alright. Then the next best look at Halo we got was probably from the Halo Wars 2 cutscenes, and again, character models, character proportions, the art style from that game too looked pretty on point. I don't think anyone was going to argue about that art style being too far removed away from the Halo themes. But this campaign footage that we've been shown for the little bit of the character cutscenes we were able to see looks amazing. I think this really looks like a really good faithful art style adaptation of the Halo 1 game. For the most part, we'll talk about more of what might be wrong with that later in this episode, but I think on the whole, it definitely looks like Halo. We've lived through the 343 era of Halo games with Halos 4 and 5, and we do know what this Halo game could have looked like had Halo Studios thought they knew better. But when I look at these images for the Halo game, I can definitely tell that it's Halo. It's not somebody trying to make their own spin on Halo. It looks like Halo. And I think that's what matters the most. Next thing that we like the most is that they're probably going to be reusing a lot of the original music from the first game. They might do some touch-ups here and there to make the game a little bit more bombastic, but during the gameplay footage and the cutscenes, it definitely sounds like they're just reusing that original music. Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore might be getting a bag for this game. I'm not sure if they're still collecting royalties. Maybe that's why they're finally feeling comfortable with using this musical assets from the first game. I'm not sure. I hope those guys get paid, because that music is amazing, and I'm glad they're reusing that all over again. Based off of that roundtable trailer that they showed off too, it looks like the Master Chief and Cortana, and maybe even Sergeant Johnson, are going to get brand new voice lines added to the game to add a little bit more context as far as what they were doing. It sounds like they're re-recording some of their classic lines from the game's original script, but they might also be adding new stuff, especially since we're getting a lot of prequel missions with Sergeant Johnson and Master Chief set sometime before the events of Halo 1, so we can look forward to some added dialogue. Hopefully they take some stuff from the books. Not too sure if they want to consider those books as canon, but I hope they do. This might be a hot take as well, but they are including modern mechanics as zoom and sprint, and I am going to include this under the win category. Really hot take, especially if you're a really diehard Halo fan. I'm okay with them including zoom and sprint as long as they kind of extend and expand some of those combat encounters. They did mention that they're going to have 4-player co-op on release for the campaign, which is great. 4-player co-op is going to be awesome. I would love to take a group of friends through the campaign for the first time. However, if they don't expand the combat encounters, when they keep more or less the same enemy variety and enemy density, 4 players, even on Legendary, I think we're going to blow through a lot of the campaign set pieces, so I'm hoping they definitely extend those combat encounters, force you as the player to get into cover, run away from vehicles. The sprint and zoom mechanics, I can only see helping those type of encounters in the game. I don't see them taking away from the original spirit of the game as well. I don't understand why people have such a huge hang up on this. If you want to be able to move, dodge, and shoot like a super soldier, you kind of need the mechanics to go with it. So zoom and sprint, overall, not a huge loss for Halo purists. They do give you the option to turn it off during certain parts of the game, or just in whole. You don't even have to use those mechanics if you really don't want to. if you really care about it that much, sure, go for it. But for me, I consider this a huge win. I was kind of hoping they would include stuff like this so that we can have those expanded combat encounters and we have more tools in our sandbox to fight against enemies. So this can only help you in the long run. And the last huge W that we're going to talk about in this section of the video is that the game is probably going to be rated M for mature, which is awesome. The first game was super bloody, lots of fluorescent blood everywhere when you punch the grunts or the elites, especially when you're fighting for the Flood. Even in the original games, there was a lot of dismemberment and a lot of crazy body parts flying around everywhere. Marines, when they got shot, they dripped red blood all over the freaking place. I can only imagine what some of the Flood levels are going to look like in this new remastered version of the game. I'm hoping they kind of go a little bit more crazy with the blood and the gore. I know that might be another kind of hot take where Halo 1 wasn't like comically graphic. They did have a little bit of body horror stuff in there with the Flood. If we're getting these cutscenes being redone by Halo Studios, I can only imagine how that Sergeant Johnson, like Jenkins found footage section of the 343 Guilty Spark mission is going to play out when he slots that data chip into the back of his skull and he sees the camera footage from Jenkins and Sergeant Johnson and Captain Keyes being attacked by the Flood. That can be a cutscene by itself. It could be like a first-person, vertical slice of that level being played from the Marines' point of view, and you can see exactly how things went so horribly wrong. I mean, they can go a lot of different ways with it. If it's just a cutscene, I think I'd be okay with that. If it plays out as like an extra little side tangent to the mission, that could be cool too. I'm not sure how they would extend that for the 4-player co-op, but an M-rated game for a Halo game is really cool. I kind of hope they lean a little bit more into that M-rated for this. The Flood are going to be a lot of really body horror, like visceral graphic kind of enemy to fight against, especially when they're taking corpses and like reanimating them. When you're shooting at them with your assault rifle, your shotgun, your rocket launcher, body parts are going to fly everywhere. There's going to be a bunch of goo everywhere. So I'm hoping that they kind of lean into that body horror, violent nature of the Flood. I think if it's an M-rated game, just go crazy with it. I always used to think in my head how it was so jarring, but like jarring in a good way, how Halo 1 went from a sci-fi action adventure game and it kind of transitioned almost to like a horror game halfway through when the Flood were introduced. And I think from the recent Dead Space remake with that body horror, I think if you included something like that into the Halo 1 remake, it could really make it stand apart from the other Halo games, especially since it's been such a long time since we've had an M-rated Halo game. So going from the things we absolutely loved from what was shown off for the Halo Combat Evolved reveal trailers and the various different gameplay footages we're going to be using for this video, let's talk about the things that we liked but hope can be improved in the future, or things that we hope are added in the future. We're going to get to the negative stuff at the tail end of the video. So first things first, I was hoping they would expand the weapon sandbox for this game. Looks like they actually are. They're not just keeping the 9 original guns from the first game in this game. They're going to be adding 9 more weapons. Some of the weapons we kind of already known from what was shown off in the trailers, and if you ever played any of the original Halo PC version of the game, some weapons were included on the PC versions of Halo 1 that weren't included on the console releases, like the energy sword, the fuel rod gun, the sentinel beam is coming back. Looks like we're getting the flamethrower as well, and we're getting the battle rifle and the needle rifle. So those are 5 weapons we know that are probably coming back. Well, how many weapons did we say? Battle rifle, sword, fuel rod gun, needle rifle, sentinel beam. That's 5. I know that for sure they're going to be including the flamethrower. That's 6. That leaves us about 3 more weapons that could be included. A lot of people were giving a lot of flack to Halo Studios for the assault rifle not having 60 rounds. It was bullet holes in the first game. You wanted something to help you with crowd control. Why is it 32 rounds? I can only assume there's going to be some other weapon from the humans' arsenal that is going to be some sort of bullet hose type weapon. My pick would be either for the suppressed SMG for like the ODST missions. You are going to be doing a lot of sneaking missions, especially when you go to rescue Captain Keyes from the Truth and Reconciliation. I know that mission you can walk in there with like a suppressed SMG and that thing can have 60 rounds. That can be a 7th weapon, or you can have like a heavy machine gun. I think the PC version had a heavy machine gun in the PC release, so maybe there can be some sort of light machine gun that the Chief uses that has 60 rounds versus the assault rifle's 32. That can be your bullet holes weapon in some sort. Since they are dabbling in the Reach weapon sandbox. We could include some of the Halo Reach weapons. I'm thinking maybe just the concussion rifle. That can be a cool thing to see return, especially since it's been so long since we've last seen that. And then maybe lastly, we can include maybe like a Brute Spiker or some other Covenant weapon too. I know Brute Spiker would imply that the Brutes would return in the Halo 1 game, and for some people that would be a big break in the canon just because Brutes were never in the first Halo game. I mean, they do show up very shortly afterwards in the book that takes place right after this. Like a couple hours later after this, you fight the Brutes for the very first time. So if they included the Brutes in the first game, I don't see why that would be such a big deal. I mean, you see the Brutes in Halo Reach, you see the Brutes in Halo 2, you just don't see the Brutes in Halo 1, even though it would make sense that they would be there. I'm not sure why there would be this gap of like Covenant forces that are coming there don't have Brutes inside their repertoire of people. So I think if they included the Brutes, I think no one would really bat their eyes at that. So they should also have their own unique weapon. Since we talked about the Brute Spiker, here's my next thing that I'm hoping they add into the game. I'm hoping for more enemy diversity. I know there's going to be grunts, jackals, elites, hunters, the flood enemy type, sentinels too. I'm hoping we can see some extra enemy types too. There's probably going to be like jackal snipers with needle rifles. Just that's how you're going to make the legendary really hard. We're having to duck and cover from those guys. They also talked about during that round table discussion that there's going to be flood pure forms. I don't know if they're just going to be backdrop or window dressing for like the library missions, or those are going to be genuine new enemies that they're going to be including in the game. But if you're already including flood pure forms, which hey, those weren't in the first game, maybe we could include some enemy types for the Covenant. In my opinion, just bring out Brutes. We don't need Brute Chieftains. I think having Chieftains in the first game might take away from the Elites, but I think the Brutes can be another bullet spongy kind of enemy. If you really want to include Brutes with gravity hammers and have a gravity hammer be another weapon that can be included in that 9-weapon sandbox, go for it. I'm thinking just Brutes, which is Brute Spikers, concussion rifles, needle rifles, have them be a little bit more taller and a little bit more bulkier than the Elites. Maybe they're not nearly as smart as the Elites. Maybe they kind of do a little bit more shock and awe tactics where they throw a lot of grenades and try to rush you down. Maybe they can kind of force players out of cover. I think that would be really interesting. I think if the Sentinels got another enemy type as well, that'd be cool. I know a lot of Sentinel drones will be there during the first Halo games. Maybe we can have Sentinel Enforcers. You see the Enforcers in Halo 2, those are the giant Sentinels that crush vehicles with their big forearms. I think if those showed up in Halo 1, I don't think people would complain that much about them. I mean, Halo 1 and Halo 2 both take place on different Halo rings. You would think they would be defended in mostly the same way, so Sentinel Enforcers showing up on Halo 1 would make sense because they show up on Halo 2 and they show up on the other Halo rings. Aren't these built the same way? Don't they have the same sort of defensive complementary of Sentinels? I mean, I don't think people would care. I wouldn't care that much. It wouldn't make me scratch my head and be like, wait a minute, those things were never there. I think most players would be okay with that. That's something they could do. Not saying they should do, but if you wanted to include something like that, that'd be fine. I think you could even tease the Guardians from Halo 5 Guardians. Maybe when you're exploring some underground facility on the Halo rings, maybe you don't interact with it directly, but maybe way in the distance in the underground labyrinth of tunnels and stuff like that, you see like a Guardian way in the back. And I was like, hey, that's a cool callback to Halo 5. I know people hate that campaign and hate that storyline, but I don't know, maybe just something could be there if you really wanted something to tie into the next game. Things that I'm hoping for these added missions that they're going to be including is that they said they're going to be a prequel. They're going to talk about Sergeant Johnson and talk about the Master Chief's relationship. I don't know if they're going to take place during like the Contact Harvest books, or if it's going to take place during the Fall of Reach books, or the Fall of Reach game, or the Fall of Reach TV show, or the movie. I think if we have it take place during the events leading up to the Pillar of Autumn escaping Reach, and maybe you see Noble Team in the background or something, I think that would be really cool. That could be another tie-in to the Halo Reach game. That would be very cool as well. We talked about this earlier, but some of the things I really do hope they include are expanded encounter and mission designs. With 4 players playing this, even on Legendary, 4 other players on split-screen co-op, or even on just like network co-op, you guys can blow through this game in like under 8 hours. And I think if you can do that in under 8 hours, even on Legendary, with 4 players, the original game was never designed with 4 players in mind. It was designed with 2 players in mind only. So I think if we have to have 4 players playing this campaign, you gotta include some expanded mission areas. I think that's a no-brainer. You gotta make the enemies harder, you gotta make them smarter. Maybe just not make them give them all crazy health bars. I think if you just make the mission areas a little bit bigger, maybe even include multiple different objectives, so like the squad has to split up and maybe 2 players go do one thing, 2 players go do another thing. That way they can kind of work together to get the mission accomplished. Or you could have them just going from point to point to point like they did in the original game, but again, you'll have to expand those in combat encounters, because for 4 players with this crazy sandbox that we're going to be getting for this Halo game, if it's not improved or if it's not extended, we're going to blow through this stuff way too fast. So since we are using Unreal Engine 5, a lot of people notice, even during the gameplay footage, that a lot of the enemy design and a lot of the engine issues are starting to crop up. There's a lot of pop-in, there's a lot of weird AI choices that the enemy is making during the gameplay footage. Some of them are just standing there, letting you run over them, letting you shoot at them. I think we need to refine the engine a little bit more. The art style is mostly there. I don't think anyone's going to complain that it looks awful. It doesn't look like Halo 4 or 5. I can tell that it definitely looks like a Halo game, but the enemies don't really stand out in a way where they are not right away visible in comparison to like the background. The background, the foliage, even like the world seems brighter than the actual enemies themselves, and I think that should be the reverse. I think in the first game, the enemies really stood out in comparison to everything else behind them, just because the world was so low poly, I guess, but at the same time, you could definitely tell what you were shooting at. I think some of the models that we're using are also from Halo's Reach and Halo's Infinite. The grunts specifically, I don't like the weird grunts who have like the weird bulbous backpacks and the weird face masks. I think the grunts should stay with their simple color codings of like yellow, orange, and red, and maybe purple. I think that's fine for the grunts. For the elites, I mean, I like the idea of the elites just having different paint jobs and all of them looking identical, but it looks like they're still using those Halo Reach and Halo Infinite designs for the elites, where they all have a little bit different ornate armor for their different colors, which, okay, it's fine. But a lot of people are complaining that this just looks like Halo Infinite elites. They don't look like Halo 1 elites. So the community can't have it both ways. You can't have interesting armor designs for the elites, but at the same time complain that they're just reusing assets from previous games, because of course they're going to. All of this is taking place within the span of like 10 years in the timeline, so elite's armor is not going to change drastically from one game to the other. So we're going to have to come to a decision as a community. Do we want super original art designs for the elites, or are we okay with the upgraded look to them? For me personally, I think the elite armor looks a little too ornate. I think some individualism from the different ranks is okay, but I think they're going a little bit too crazy. The horns on the elite helmets was always a weird decision for me, just because I was like, I'm starting to get like weird brute chieftain vibes and less like elite commander vibes. So some assets from Halo Infinite are fine, but I think they're just using a little bit too much, in my opinion at least. Let's simplify that art style. Let's not make the elites look like the warlords or the bosses from Halo Infinite. Let's kind of simplify it and streamline it just a bit. Other things I'm hoping that they might include in this Halo remake is that if they're going to start including stuff from the books. The Flood book was a huge inspiration for the game itself. I think the book was written first and the game was built around the book after that. There are a lot of plot lines and character moments from the books that I'm hoping we get to see in the game. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the original book, there was a subplot within the Covenant of an elite and a grunt trying to capture or kill the Master Chief. And a lot of the combat encounters in the game are based off scenes that the elite and the grunt actually worked towards and built around trying to kill the Master Chief. We even see one of those scenes in The Silent Cartographer, where the stealth elites ambush the Master Chief shortly after finding the map room, and those hunters are there too. That's a scene pulled straight from the book. That is a combat encounter that the elite and the grunt planned out to try to kill the Master Chief, and it goes horribly wrong for one reason or the other. And again, they could include something from like a cutscene or something about how the Covenant are trying to kill the Master Chief specifically. There's also other things that are happening too with the Marines. you're wondering where the hell the Master Chief goes to rest, or where he says you go to regroup, or where does he go to after he saves all of these Marines from the first couple of levels of the Halo game. Well, the Marines were busy capturing Alpha Base on Halo. You could show a cutscene about what the Marines are doing and how they're doing their best to fortify their position. You also have really cool moments when the Flood are first introduced and the Marines at Alpha Base are struggling to fight against them, and how they're struggling to get off the planet. We can also include stuff as far as what happened to all the Marines. The Marines didn't just all die in the explosion of the Halo rings. Something very traumatic happened to them afterwards, and I think that's something they could expand on in the game. That would be really cool for the die-hard purists who say they want more stuff included from the books, and it would be really cool for me just because I'd be like, ooh, I want to see what this looks like in 4K on a modern, game engine. The early concept art we've been shown from the game's launch has also been really revealing. It's showing a much grander scale for like the very last mission of the Halo game. It shows off some of the combat encounters. It shows us our first real look at Cortana, and I think that's really cool. I think Cortana's look in this game looks just fine. It almost looks like the Halo Infinite model that they use from the Halo flashback moments in Halo Infinite. It almost looks like that. I'm kind of happy that it's not just a rip of that. She's not in her naked, curvy look from Halo 4 or Halo 3. It looks like a modern take on her original design from the first Halo game. It also, I think it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I like the idea that the concept arts are giving us our first look at Cortana, gives us our first look at the ending set piece of the Halo games. I think that's awesome. The very last thing that I'm hoping that we get for this game is that if anybody has any issues with the art style, the engine, the way the enemies fight, the way the enemies think, hopefully, if this is coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC specifically, that the PC version gets a lot of mod support. I hope that the devs gives us the tools in order for us to make and change things about the campaign that we don't like. I can see how the modders of this game could really make the original art style from the first Halo game come through. We're going to be throwing up some concept art on the screen as far as how people had envisioned the original art style to be reintroduced in a more modern way. I think that stuff could be really cool to include as a mod for this game if it ever does come to PC and it has really extensive mod support. I hope the devs are not super stingy with those tools. I hope that we really get that third-party support for this game. It could really introduce longevity and life into this game for the long run. I'm really hoping that we get something like that. Okay, now that we've had a chance to talk about the good, we've had a chance to talk about what's okay, now it's finally time to talk about the bad. What did we not like about the Halo campaign, evolved, reveal stuff that we were shown? My stuff is not nearly as nitpicky as a lot of the other Halo YouTubers' comments were. A lot of people have given a lot of different videos. I've watched a lot of videos on a lot of YouTube channels about their discussions as far as what they don't like about the Halo remake. And the mass consensus behind what everyone seemingly has issues with is nobody can really agree on what they want out of the Halo remake. People seemingly just want it updated with current graphics. They don't want none of the enemy encounters, weapon designs, weapon sandbox. They want nothing to change. Other people are mad that they're including modern mechanics, that they're including modern first-person shooter mechanics. Other people are saying that the Halo art style is not Halo enough, or that they're reusing a bunch of assets, or they seemingly are being really lazy with this remake. And for me, the biggest issue that I'm having right now is that the community seems to be really toxic around this. They hold the first Halo game in really high regards. I get that. I really, really do. But at the same time, 343 has shown us what they could do if they just didn't give a shit about the art style, the story, the lore. We've seen that already, and that was Halos 4, 5, and Infinite. Infinite was a course correction from 4 and 5, and Halo Infinite's art design was trying its best to go back to the original Halo art design. And this is literally Halo 1. This game looks like Halo 1. If you showed me a single screen grab or screenshot from this, I don't think this is Halo Infinite. It doesn't look like Halo Infinite. It looks like Halo 1. I think this game looks enough like Halo 1 where like it's not setting off the alarms in my head. And I think the community as a whole needs to relax. I think we all need to take a collective breath and just be super stoked that we actually got another Halo game that actually looks like Halo. It plays like Halo. it looks like Halo 1. The sound design, enemy design, all that stuff can be fixed in the future. This was just really early test footage and beta footage of the game. It's all subject to change. You see that in the little parentheses near the bottom. It's all subject to change. And I have faith that either 343 will make the changes they need to make before this game comes out, which will probably come out sometime next year, or at the very least, if they give us PC mod support, we as the community will fix it for them. We can do this. I think people just need to take a break, take a breather, and just come to terms with the idea that we are getting another Halo game, and you should be super excited about that. Do not be nitpicky. Do not be overtly hostile or overtly specific as far as the things that you wanted for this Halo remake. A Halo remake that people are asking for is just I don't even know how to explain it properly. I don't even know if I can cut this part up of my video and kind of really ground it in what I'm trying to say, but it seems like people just can't agree on what they want for the Halo remake. They want it to be super original, super faithful to the original idea of Halo. They want just better graphics. They want better gunplay. Like they want like everything and nothing at the same time. And I think there's going to be a leading to confusion with the community as a whole. Watching all these different Halo YouTubers videos, I'm getting the impression that just nobody can really boil down what they want. They want that like lightning in a bottle moment when they first played Halo. And I don't think you're going to get that from this, just because no matter how good it looks, no matter how well it plays, it's never going to be able to recapture those awe moments you had as a child. Just because you're doing this again for like the second or third time, this Halo game. And I think being able to play through it again with your friends, being able to relive those good moments in this high fidelity, I think that'll be good enough for me. I think I would be okay with that. But the Halo community as a whole seemingly is like they're about to explode from the negative reception from this game. And for me, I looked at this and I was like, holy hell, dude, this looks awesome. This looks amazing. Small issues here and there, but for the most part, I am fully on board with this. Like I said before, I'm like 80% there of the stuff that I was shown. 10% was things that I'm hoping gets changed and they can address, and the other 10% are the things that I actually genuinely don't like. And the biggest thing right now is I just don't like the community sentiment around this game. Nobody can agree what the first Halo game needs to be. Is it a sci-fi action shooter? Is it a horror shooter? Is it graphic? Is it not? Is it comical? Is it funny? Is it supposed to be super serious? Do you want the original sandbox and nothing else? Do you want expanded sandbox so you can play with extra things? I think people just need to take a breath and just realize that this version of Halo, there was another timeline where this Halo Combat Evolved remake was announced and it just looked like Halo 4 and 5 all over again, and then that would have actually sucked. So I think we got to just take a breath as a community and just be stoked that it's coming, and hope that we can get everything changed either as a community with mod support or the developers will make the changes for us. So the things that we generally dislike besides the community sentiment are the weird HUD overlays. This is a little bit nitpicky, like I just said. My gripes are on the more nitpicky side, like the community sentiments are, but mine are more lore nitpicky, if that makes sense. In Halos, I think it's from like 3, 4, 5, and Infinite, the HUD overlay was built in a way where it kind of mirrored the Master Chief's visor. Master Chief's visor has an inlay of like almost like an indentation on the gold visor, as far as like, I don't even know how to describe it, but in every version of the Halo armors from like the Mark III, the Mark IV, the Mark V, the Mark VI, the Mark V is very special because its visor is solid gold, mirror smooth. There is no indentation anywhere on the visor itself. However, they're showing off this weird like indentation from like his visor perspective, almost like there is an indentation there from his like the helmet visor itself. Like it's something specific from the Halos 4, 5, and Infinite overlays. And this makes me think that it's just an asset they literally ported over from Infinite without realizing what it actually was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna throw up a graphic on screen so you guys have an idea as far as what I'm talking about. Like the visor on the different Mjolnir marks, they all have this indentation on the visor. The Mark V specifically for this game does not have that indentation on the visor, but like the HUD overlay makes it seem like it's there. I don't know if this is supposed to represent like the upper and lower parts of the helmet, or like the helmet's like meeting the visor, but that makes me think like this is literally just a Halo Infinite visor just like repurpose, or like the Halo 5 visor repurpose. I kind of don't like that. I think if they wanted to include that indentation on the solid gold visor and have that little like embossing on the gold visor to make it look like the other ones from the other generations, that would be cool. I would be okay with that. Maybe they'll do that with mod support, or they'll just update the armor look to it. I think that would be fine. There's also no health bars in this game either. You have your regenerating health bar at the very top. You have your just health bar, like your literal health bar, not your segmented health. During the campaign encounters, you were able to get health packs to increase your health. Your health bar and your energy shields played a really important role as far as how aggressive and how careful you had to play in the game. You can have full shielding, but you can have the tiniest sliver of health left until you found yourself a health pack, so you had to play very careful. I think they need to reintroduce the health pack system and the health bar system. I think that's a great way to go forward with future Halo games. I think that could really make a difference between running and gunning and just blowing through this game with no problem on 4-player co-op on Legendary, or on Legendary, everyone's super hurt, they're almost about to die. If we're not super careful here, we're going to die in the next combat encounter. That could be a way to extend your game's longevity, especially if you're not planning on including extra combat encounters or extended combat encounters. You having to be really careful with your health could be a way to do that, and I think they need to reintroduce that. Also, some issues that I was saying during the campaign gameplay footage is that the enemy AI doesn't seem all that smart. They seem like Halo Infinite smart. They're kind of just standing there shooting at you. They're not ducking and rolling. They're not being aggressive. They're not running out of the way of your Warthog. They're kind of just letting you run them over. I think the enemy design needs to be a little bit smarter. I'm not talking like Halo 2 Legendary smarter, where they instantly kill you, they instantly melee you. The elites specifically should feel like you're fighting almost like another enemy player. They need to be a little bit more smart. They need to be ducking and rolling. They need to be taking cover. They need to be throwing grenades. It'd be kind of cool if they gave commands to the grunts and the jackals to like flank you or something. They just don't fight like Halo 1 enemies. I think they need to upgrade the enemy AI design a little bit more. It just feels like we're playing Halo Infinite enemies with a Halo 1 skin wrapped on top of them. They really need to take a look at their enemy AI design and really make them feel like you're fighting an alien force and you're fighting for survival. You're not just blowing through them. Another thing I'm hoping for is that since this is an M-rated game, where it's most likely going to be an M-rated game, that they really lean into that gore and blood aspect of this game. During the gameplay footage, you see the Master Chief shooting at enemies. They're bleeding everywhere. They're dropping their fluorescent blood all over the ground. However, as I'm seeing him step over these enemies, either with the Warthog's tires or the Marines or even the Master Chief's boots, I don't see like a blood trail from any of the enemies that are coming off. I think that would be really cool if they did that. He splatters a couple of enemies during the gameplay footage too, but like when you splatter somebody, blood doesn't get caked on the front of the Warthog or even on the tires or even on the surrounding rocks or anything like that. I just wish that, like, hey, if I'm running over a grunt with my Warthog and he gets caught up in the tire treads or whatever, it'd be kind of cool to see his body get all mangled up. I don't know why I found that so weird, and being like, wait a minute, he just hit him with the Warthog. That guy didn't explode in a shower of body parts. It doesn't need to be like Doom Eternal levels of gore where like you run over a grunt and they literally explode in a shower of meat. But I mean, we're using Unreal Engine 5. I mean, you should take full advantage of it. I would like this game to leave an impression and to stand out amongst other Halo games, because again, it's been so long since we've had an M-rated Halo game. I would love a scene like that, a secret level scene when the Space Marines, during that secret level episode where the Space Marines are fighting against the Chaos Demons in this pitch black area. You can't see a thing. But imagine if like you're just like one of your, it's the Master Chief and you have your Spartan co-op friends coming with you and you're fighting in this really dark hallway and these grunts and these elites are running at you and you're just shooting at stuff and just like punching stuff and just hacking and slashing with energy swords and shotguns, and like fluorescent blood is getting everywhere and you guys are just getting covered in it. And you guys are just walking in this hallway and your boots are leaving boot marks that are just fluorescent on the ground. I think that'd be awesome. I didn't see anything like that in the Halo footage, and I think we need something like that, something to make this stand apart more. So a little bit more bloody, a little bit more gory. I don't think anyone's gonna complain about that. take advantage of the fact that your enemies have fluorescent blood and merely make that fluorescent blood stand out in darker environments. I hope they do. I don't know if they are because we didn't see any nighttime footage, but that's one thing that I'm hoping that we get more of. So another big issue here that we're running into right now is that when this game was announced, they announced that it was just going to be the campaign. There was not going to be any competitive PvP added with this game. There's going to be like system linked, or not even system linked. There's going to be like online multiplayer in the form of going co-op in the campaign with you and 3 other friends. So there's a 4-player co-op, but there's nothing else. There's no forge. There's no PvP multiplayer. I don't know if they're going to include firefight into this at all. That would be the only thing I can think of they could use to salvage this campaign. If it's literally just the campaign, with just being able to invite friends into a lobby in order for you to jump into specific levels, you're just going to have the skulls as modifiers for changing up the levels. They did specify there's going to be the most skulls ever added in any Halo game to this, so I don't know if those skulls are somehow going to add like random combat encounters, random loadouts, enemies are using random weapons. You're going to be able to find random weapons out in the field. I don't know if they're going to include stuff like that. It would be really weird if they didn't. If it's just the campaign co-op, and just the skulls to hopefully add extra life to this campaign, I really don't know how they're going to ask $70+ for this campaign. It's going to be a hard sell for a lot of people. I might still buy it, but it would be really hard for me to do. I think if 343, I keep wanting to call them 343 because they're making a lot of 343 mistakes. If Halo Studios wants to sell me on this idea, they really need to show me some more stuff besides the campaign. Like, include at least firefight in there somewhere. Something where I can fight against hordes of enemies or something like that. I don't foresee the campaign wowing enough people to ask for that amount of money for this. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. Especially since there's leaks and rumors going on right now saying that they're also working on Halos 2 and 3 remakes as well. And those ones are also not planning on having any sort of multiplayer to them. And I'm like, this is going to be an insane move, because why aren't they including multiplayer? They've just finished off the Halo World Championships with Halo Infinite. They've announced at that event that the Halo Infinite was going to be the last, like, this is going to be the last Halo Championship involving Halo Infinite. So there's no more HCS coming out ever until the next Halo multiplayer game. I don't know when that's going to be. Is it going to be Halo 7? I didn't think they were going to do Halo 7. I thought they basically were doing this campaign reboot or remake as a reboot of the franchise to do it all over again and include multiplayer maybe in the next game or something. I don't know. It just seems like a bizarre choice to include only the campaign and nothing else with it. There's got to be something else in there. There has to be. Otherwise, the community, I think, would be more pissed about that, and then the price for it as well, more than anything. Everything up until this point has been stuff that could be fixed with modders, or stuff that could be fixed by the devs. But if they don't include a multiplayer, I don't know how you salvage your reputation with this, because people are just going to be like, why couldn't you include a multiplayer? Bungie, back in 2001, were able to include a campaign and a multiplayer, but you guys can only do a campaign with better tools than they am. You're not even remaking the game. Like, you're basically just copying what they're doing from, not even from scratch. You're just taking their plot points and putting it in a new engine with the Halo Reach engine underlying the Halo, or the Unreal Engine 5. Like, it's two different game engines, so one's under the other, so it feels like Halo, but it just looks like a more modern game. So again, I'm rambling here, but I'm saying at the same time, this is one of my biggest concerns. Is I think the community aren't focusing around this enough. They're focusing around the nitpicky stuff, like the art style, it's not looking Halo 1 enough. But that stuff I don't care about nearly as much as, how are you going to justify me paying your asking price for just a campaign? There's got to be some more meat there. And the 3 extra levels and some skulls might not do it for me. Halo Studios also has a track record of when they release their games that promised features might not be there at launch. This is going to be their first flagship game that they're releasing, so I'm hoping that this functions at launch. They said that they would have local split screen as one of the touted features, and they would have 4-player co-op campaign. This stuff has to work at launch. It cannot work later. There's no season pass, there's no seasons of content by the looks of this. This is not a live service game. This is just a one and done kind of game. So if it's one and done, it better freaking work at launch. If it does not work at launch and they have to make out an emergency patch, or they're like, we didn't expect people to blow up this game, like, it's gonna be, I'm going to be so confused as to why they included so little, but at the same time couldn't get it to function. It has to work at launch. Split screen co-op has to work there without crashing my Xbox, crashing my PlayStation. It has to be there. It has to be ready to go when it ships, guys. You guys cannot get this wrong a fourth time. I know you guys are supposedly a brand new studio, but you're making a lot of the same mistakes from previous iterations of this franchise. Please, please, for the life of us, please do not mess this up as far as it not functioning at launch. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much everything I got for this episode, or I guess not this episode, this video. I keep saying episodes because this is more of a Let's Play channel. We don't do a lot of commentary / reaction videos. So I'm giving you my thoughts as far as everything that I like about the game, everything I dislike about the game, everything that I hope changes with the game as time goes on. I think community sentiment has kind of makes me a little, like, sad, because a lot of people who I've watched for Halo content kind of showed me that even they themselves don't really know what this Halo game should be, what it shouldn't be, what it should have, what it shouldn't have. And I'm just like, guys, you guys will, if I keep talking, I'm going to keep rambling about this, and I don't want to keep rambling about this. It's just, my issues with the Halo 1 remake, when it was shown off, are more overarching issues and less nitpicky issues. I'm worried about the price of the game. I'm worried about how they're going to justify the price of the game. And I'm worried how they're going to give me more content than what was announced for the game. Those are my major issues. Everything else is nitpicks and or personal taste or preference issues that I'm like, those things can be fixed with either mods from the community, or they can be fixed by the devs themselves. Sound design, enemy design, the look and feel, that stuff I'm worried less about. I just don't care about that stuff. I'm worried about the overarching, like, future of the franchise issues. And those issues bug me more than the small nitpicks. There was a lot of cool stuff that was shown off in the trailers that I really, really, really liked. The game looks great. I love how the game looks. It looks like it plays just like Halo. There are small little details that they did include that I'm like, huh, that's kind of cool. When the Master Chief gets shot at, his energy shields flare, and you can see the, like, honeycomb pattern on his skin. However, if you pay real close attention, he doesn't have it on the palm of his hands. Why? Because in lore, the energy shielding blocks him picking up anything with his hands if the energy shields go wrap all the way around his hands completely. So, on purpose, they only shield the top portions of his hands, and then the underside of his palm and his fingers, those are unshielded, so he can pick stuff up, like grenades and guns and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. Like, oh, they picked up on that detail and that's a detail from the books. That's a detail from the next book, where he's trying to squeeze into this tight hallway, but he can't quite make it because his stupid energy shields are on. So he has to specifically turn his shields off so that he can actually squeeze through a really tight corridor, because he keeps bumping into stuff with the shielding turned on. And then he had to do that specifically for his hands too, because he couldn't grab something because he had too much energy shielding on his hands. So he had to turn down the shielding on his hands. Again, I thought that was a really, really cool attention to detail issue. And for every little nitpick that I really liked, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, there were other nitpicks that I'm like, oh, come on, man, why did you guys do that? Like the HUD overlay thing. I didn't really like the HUD overlay thing. That doesn't make sense in lore, especially when the visor from Halo 1 is supposed to be mirror smooth. I don't know. Again, I could keep rambling. I don't want to keep rambling here. If you guys really like the Halo reveal, let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more Halo content come out. We're going to be doing more Halo stuff as more stuff gets revealed. We might even do some more Halo playthroughs real soon. Let me know if my takes are shit, or if you agree with most of my takes. I don't know. I'm not an authority on Halo. I've just grew up with it. It's when I first bought the Xbox way back in the day, Halo was the only game I had for it. And I played the hell out of that, and I love the franchise so much because I know they can do greatness with it. But that's why I said in the title of this video is that it could be a legendary game. It could be legendary. It really could. They don't need to get it right. They just need to not screw up. I think as long as they don't screw up, I think people will just be stoked for it. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.